Leo, tonight is not just another night. It's a divine checkpoint. A massive shift in your destiny is unfolding now, and it's happening tonight. Yes, you heard that right. 3 shocking predictions are aligning this very evening to shake loose the parts of your life that have quietly held you back for too long. You didn't land on this video by chance. Something within your soul brought you here. And that something is ready. Ready to cross into a new timeline. Ready to let go of what no longer reflects your true self. Ready to say yes to the invitation that only the brave recognize and only the chosen accept. Perhaps you felt it recently, a strange calm, a quiet disconnect from what once excited you, a recurring thought whispering that your story is about to change. That isn't your imagination. That's spiritual alignment in motion. This is the moment the universe gives you full permission to stop performing and start becoming. Tonight, Leo, 3 pivotal energies will move into position: a karmic cycle that collapses, a new path that quietly appears, and one final test, the return of a shadow. See if your vibration is truly ready for what you've been praying for. You don't need to chase signs anymore. They're already chasing you. This isn't about astrology. This is about awakening. So take a deep breath, and pause everything else. What you're about to hear in the next few minutes is not just a forecast. It's your confirmation. That long pause you felt in your heart? It was preparing you. That resistance you've met? It wasn't a block, it was redirection. And that yearning for clarity? It's about to be answered, but only if you stay open to the unexpected way it arrives. Let me take this moment to sincerely thank you for being here. Your time, your energy, your presence not taken for granted. Every like, every comment, every share, and every subscription helps this channel remain a lighthouse for those navigating their deepest transformations. You are a vital part of this sacred space we're building. Your support allows these messages to continue reaching those who are silently crying out for guidance, healing, and clarity in a noisy world. And trust me, Leo, you're going to want to stay with me until the very end of this message, because what the universe is about to unveil is not only rare, it's personal. It's powerful. And it's calling you by name. So tell me, beloved Leo, what was it that pulled you here tonight? What part of your soul whispered, "Click this one"? Go ahead and affirm it in the comments right now. Right, I am ready to step into my divine timeline. Let that be your contract with the stars. Let it be the moment where you draw a line in the sand and say, I will not return to the version of me that had to shrink to be loved. I will not replay a story that my soul has already outgrown. Because tonight, the portal opens. And if you're still listening, you're already walking through it. Let's begin. The first prediction might shake you, but it will also free you. Leo, as we move deeper into this sacred journey, you may already feel something beginning to stir, like the faint echo of a truth you've known all along but haven't quite dared to name. This is not simply the beginning of a new phase. It is the sacred unraveling of a version of you that has served its purpose and now lovingly steps aside to make room for the soul you are becoming. The celestial tension between the moon and Saturn in some birth charts. Uranus is not here to punish or pressure you. It's here to illuminate. It invites you to witness, without judgment, all that you have outgrown. And I want to gently remind you, feeling empty does not mean something is wrong. It means space is finally being made for something more aligned. Imagine standing in front of a mirror that doesn't reflect your face, but your frequency. For months now, maybe even years, you've been orbiting emotional patterns that once protected you but now exhaust you. The relationships that kept you guessing, the job that once inspired you but now leaves you drained, the habits you've carried like armor, these were never your true self. They were your training ground. But the lesson is complete. And this part of your soul story is closing. You might find that what once triggered you now leaves you indifferent. That the voice you used to defend now falls silent. That the fire you once felt for someone or something has cooled into clarity. That is not numbness. That is healing. Like removing a cloak you didn't realize was suffocating you. And what remains is not a void, it's air. It's breath. It's freedom. Let's make this moment tangible. I invite you to take a quiet minute tonight, under the gentle presence of the moon, and write down the names, situations, roles, or stories that you know deep down are no longer part of your future. You don't need to hate them. You don't even need to understand them completely. You just need to release them. You can burn the page and let the smoke carry your release to the heavens. Or bury it in the soil, letting the earth compost what no longer serves. This isn't just symbolic, it's energetic. Every act of conscious release sends a signal to the universe: I'm ready for alignment. Now, if you feel resistance rising, that's okay. You are not wrong for holding on. But ask yourself this with compassion: am I holding on out of love or out of fear? Is this version of me still serving who I'm becoming? So many of us confuse loyalty with limitation. But remember, Leo, your loyalty must always start with your highest self. You are not betraying the past by outgrowing it. You are fulfilling its purpose. And in this moment, I think about the deeper meaning behind letting go, how it mirrors the wisdom found in ancient teachings and daily devotion. The act of releasing is itself an act of faith. It is trusting that what comes next will not leave you empty but fulfilled. It is believing that even though your heart may not have all the answers, your soul is already walking ahead, clearing the way. So I gently ask you to affirm it aloud, or even better, declare it below in the comments: I have released the old role. Let those words become more than text. Let them become truth. Let them be the turning point you never knew you needed. Because sometimes, the greatest healing isn't found in the arrival of something new. It's found in the courage to bless the ending and walk away lighter. And tonight, Leo, you are being given that exact gift. Take it. Honor it. And know, you are not walking into the unknown, you are walking home. Leo, after letting go of what has quietly expired in your life, the space that's now been cleared is not just empty, it's expectant. This next moment isn't a coincidence, and it won't arrive with thunder. Tonight's shift unfolds not in the loud turning of events but in the softness of alignment. While the first transformation asked for release, this one asks for presence. And the invitation? It often shows up not as a grand breakthrough but as a whisper, a small, seemingly insignificant moment that holds the entire blueprint of your next chapter. In astrology, this is the activation of the 9th house, the house of higher wisdom, divine direction, and soul purpose. And when this house lights up, especially under Leo's sky, it doesn't beg for attention, it asks for trust. The kind of trust that doesn't need a 5-step plan to take the first step. You may notice it tonight as a text from someone you haven't heard from in years. A course that randomly appears on your feed. A conversation that stirs something deep in your chest. A dream that leaves you waking up with a knowing you can't quite explain. These are not random events. These are signals. Gentle nudges from your higher self and the field of potential surrounding you, calling you toward the next divine breadcrumb on your path. The truth is, many of the most pivotal turns in life don't come with warning signs or fireworks. They come quietly, and they ask one thing only: will you follow the feeling, or will you wait for certainty? This is where self-sabotage loves to sneak in, not through negativity, but through overanalysis. Leo, your heart is bold, but your mind is clever. It wants proof. It wants logic. But your soul doesn't speak in bullet points, it speaks in vibrations. That flutter in your stomach? That lightness in your chest? That slight acceleration in your breath when something crosses your path? That's guidance. That's your inner navigation system saying, right here. This way. The law of attraction teaches us that the universe responds to clarity of vibration, not clarity of plan. And sometimes, the boldest leap forward looks like a quiet yes. Let me offer you something practical, because spiritual alignment is never separate from real life. Tonight, if anything catches your attention in a gentle but persistent way, write it down. Start a page in your journal titled, "The Whisper I Heard." Write what you saw, how it made you feel, what it reminded you of, and whether you felt expansion or fear. Then ask yourself, if I had no fear and no one to explain myself to, what would I do with this? That's your soul's response. That's the next step. No permission needed. This is not the kind of moment you chase. It's the kind you notice, and then choose. And choice is powerful, Leo. Especially when it's made from an open heart and a quiet mind. The truth is, divine timing is never about waiting for the perfect moment. It's about becoming available to it emotionally, spiritually, and vibrationally. You don't have to know how everything unfolds. You only need to trust that the door opening in front of you tonight was meant for your feet. So if something stirs in you right now, if you're thinking of someone or something and wondering, could this be it? That curiosity is already your confirmation. Take a moment to anchor it. Type in the comments, "I am ready to receive the universe's invitation." Declare it not to prove anything but to align yourself with the truth that you are ready. Ready not just to move forward, but to be moved. Ready to walk through the door that destiny has quietly, faithfully, and lovingly held open just for you. Just when the path ahead begins to feel clearer, when your spirit starts to rest in the quiet hope of change, something familiar reappears. But this familiarity does not come as chaos. It returns as comfort. It's in these moments, Leo, that the soul is given its most sacred opportunity, to demonstrate its transformation not through words or intentions, but through vibration. This is what I call the echo of the old self. And if you are truly ready to cross into the new timeline waiting for you, then this final appearance is not a setback. It is the threshold. Astrologically, this is not just a moment of test, it is a transit of karmic recalibration. The energetic field around you shifts to reflect your inner upgrades. And in that sacred recalibration, the universe often sends something or someone from your past, not to tempt you, but to reflect you. A conversation with an ex that seems innocent. A lucrative offer that sounds too good to be ignored. A sudden emotional longing for an old version of your life that once felt like home, even though it left you hollow. These moments feel soft. They feel seductive. And that's why they are so powerful. They are not obvious traps. They are gentle invitations to return to a version of yourself that is already outdated. Here's where your emotional maturity becomes your compass. The question isn't whether the situation is good or bad, it's whether it resonates with the frequency you are now choosing to live in. This is not about logic. It's not even about morality. It's about alignment. That is the spiritual discernment of the awakened Leo. When the shadow shows up, it does so wearing the cloak of the familiar. But if you pause, if you breathe, you will sense it. Not in your head, but in your body. Your nervous system may tighten. Your energy may dip. Or, conversely, something might feel too fast, too forced, too glittery. And in those subtle sensations, your intuition is whispering, you've already been here and you don't need to return. There is no shame in being tempted. In fact, it's a sign of readiness. The stronger the light you step into, the more your shadow will want to be seen. But this is not about resisting or pushing away. It's about recognizing. Seeing the old story for what it is, a chapter that taught you, grew you, refined you but no longer defines you. And when you can meet that shadow with love but not with attachment, you free yourself. You rise above the loop that once kept you circling the same spiritual terrain. In the therapeutic world, we call this a breakthrough moment, the conscious interruption of a subconscious pattern. The key is awareness. When you feel the tug to respond quickly, to explain yourself, to justify going back, pause. Ask, is this rooted in fear or expansion? Does this serve who I was, or who I am becoming? And if the answer feels even slightly unclear, trust your hesitation. Because hesitation, when honored, often becomes revelation. Leo, you have spent too long proving your worth. You no longer need to prove, you only need to choose. And if this moment is asking you to choose between safety and growth, choose the one that feels more like truth, even if it's uncertain. That is how timelines shift, not by the grand declarations, but by the quiet decisions made when no one is watching. So if you feel that a shadow has shown up in your life lately, if a test is knocking softly on the doors of your peace, acknowledge it, bless it, and walk forward. Your soul already knows the way. And if you feel ready, declare it below. I recognize the shadow, and I choose to move forward. Let that comment become your spiritual anchor, your way of marking this sacred turning point. Because the moment you choose your future over your fear, you step into a power that can never be taken from you again. After walking through the 3 predictions, the release of what has expired, the invitation toward what is new, and the confrontation with what once bound you, something subtle but profound begins to shift. It is not loud. It is not even always visible to others. But you can feel it, Leo. It's like standing in your own body for the first time without shrinking, without apologizing, without performing. This moment is not about effort. It's about embodiment. You are no longer trying to become someone. You are simply allowing who you've always been to fully arrive. Astrologically, when the soul reaches this state of energetic ripening, it aligns with its solar essence, the core radiance of Leo itself. Not the roar, but the light. Not the need to prove, but the quiet, unwavering certainty that you are here for a reason that needs no justification. This is where true confidence is born. Not from perfection or praise, but from presence. You are no longer the lion who has to make noise to be heard. You are the sun so radiant that the world shifts simply by being in your orbit. And the most beautiful part? You don't need to do anything to deserve this. You only need to allow it. Many people misunderstand what spiritual growth looks like. They think it means striving harder, manifesting faster, or rising above emotion. But in reality, it often looks like softening. It feels like laying down the armor. It moves like a deep exhale after years of holding your breath. And that's what this part of your journey is about, reclaiming your energy not through control, but through clarity. When you stop trying to be everything for everyone, you start becoming everything you were always meant to be for yourself. This kind of shift cannot be forced. It comes when you finally believe that you no longer have to chase the world in order to be chosen by it. And that belief, this sacred permission to bias what changes everything. Because when you stop fighting to earn your light naturally expands. You become magnetic. Not in a way that pulls attention for validation, but in a way that attracts only what resonates with your truth. People feel it. Opportunities feel it. Life begins to unfold in response to the frequency you now carry. In emotional healing work, we call this resonant authenticity. It's when your inner world and outer world stop competing with each other. When who you are behind closed doors is the same as who you are in the light. And it's in this space that peace finally finds you, not because your life is perfect, but because your energy is no longer fragmented. You're no longer chasing what's not yours. You're no longer clinging to what already left. You are simply here, clear, grounded, and powerful in your quiet knowing. So if you feel tired of striving, of proving, of pretending, this is your permission to stop. You don't need to fight to belong anymore. The door that didn't open wasn't a rejection, it was redirection. The silence you've sat in was not abandonment, it was preparation. And the yearning you've carried wasn't weakness, it was the holy reminder that you were made for more than the life you were taught to settle for. Let this be the moment you whisper to yourself, I no longer fit into the world I've outgrown. And let that whisper become the anthem of your becoming. Because from this moment on, you're not returning to the old. You're not editing yourself to be palatable. You're stepping into the light that was always waiting patiently for you to stop hiding. And now, the only thing left to do is shine. When energy shifts on a soul level, it eventually wants to ground itself in the real, tangible aspects of your life. The spiritual isn't meant to remain floating in some unseen dimension, it wants to live in your body, in your habits, in your calendar, in your breath. That's why integration is everything. After you've opened your heart to the cosmic transitions, seen the patterns, felt the letting go, embraced the invitation, and passed the test of the shadow, what remains is the question, how do I live this truth now? That's what this part of your journey is all about, translating spiritual alignment into practical embodiment across the 4 key areas of life: health, work, finances, and love. Let's begin with your body. Your nervous system, as subtle as it is sacred, responds immediately to internal shifts, even the ones your mind hasn't fully caught up with. If you're feeling overstimulated, anxious, or simply on edge tonight, know that it's not weakness. It's adjustment. you're not broken, you're reintegrating. Rather than fighting this sensitivity, you're being asked to care for it. Avoid caffeine if you can tonight. Choose softness. A warm bath with lavender or sweet orange essential oil isn't just about relaxation, it's energetic rebalancing. A 10-minute heart-centered meditation, focusing on the chest and forehead, the heart and third eye chakras, can bring your body and spirit into communion, soothing your system while anchoring your intuition. Healing isn't about doing more. It's about attuning to what you truly need. In your professional life, you may notice a subtle dissatisfaction that's hard to define. A kind of restlessness that no longer feels like ambition, but more like awakening. This is often how purpose first arrives, not as a lightning bolt, but as a question you can't unhear. If there's an idea, a field, a curiosity that makes your hands tingle or your chest expand when you think about it, pay attention. That reaction isn't random, it's resonance. Take a moment to journal it. Write out the projects or paths that make you come alive. Don't judge them by feasibility, honor them as seeds. And if you can, speak with a mentor, enroll in a workshop, or just explore a podcast on the subject. Small steps in a true direction carry more power than massive leaps in the wrong one. Financially, you are being called into greater stewardship. Not restriction, but responsibility. In times of energetic transition, impulsive spending often shows up as a coping mechanism. But your higher self wants more for you than momentary distraction. Tonight is not the night for big purchases or emotional buys. Instead, begin a 3-month vision for your resources. What do you want your money to support? What kind of life does it want to create through you? Consider investments that are slow, grounded, and aligned with your long-term values, not just your short-term cravings. From tomorrow onward, the energy will stabilize and support those who are willing to honor their financial flow as a form of self-trust. And in love, perhaps the most delicate terrain of all, you are being asked to surrender control. Tonight isn't about fixing, defining, or predicting anything in your relationships. It's about presence. Let your heart speak, not to be understood, but to be heard. If you're partnered, soften your edges. If you're single, release the pressure. You might meet someone whose gaze lingers just a little longer than usual, someone who makes you feel seen without a word. Let it move through you. You don't need to decide the future. You only need to stay open to connection without fear and without rush. Because when your inner alignment touches the outer layers of your life, something remarkable happens. Life stops feeling like a performance and starts becoming a reflection. And that, Leo, is where real transformation begins, not in the stars above, but in the choices you make with the light they've awakened in you. Leo, the most profound shifts often happen in silence, not in dramatic moments, but in the quiet decision to no longer abandon yourself. If you've made it to this point in the video, something inside you already knows. You are not who you used to be. You've outgrown the old patterns, the noise, the roles you once performed to feel loved. Now, you're being asked to step into a new life, not because someone gave you permission, but because your soul is ready. Your energy has changed. And with that shift, everything around you must begin to reflect the new frequency you're choosing. You don't need to prove anything anymore. Not to the world. Not to the past. Not even to yourself. The fact that you're here, listening, reflecting, breathing with more awareness than before. That alone is sacred progress. The work you've done, the lessons you've faced, the release you've allowed, they were not in vain. And now, a new chapter isn't just available. It's already unfolding. But it begins not in some distant future. It begins in the small choices you make tonight. The words you speak to yourself. The way you respond to the familiar voices of doubt. The willingness to believe that maybe, just maybe, life can be good from here. So I want to ask you, gently but clearly, what would change if you trusted your own readiness? What would open if you believed that your time is now, not after one more certificate, not after one more apology, not after one more breakdown? Right now, as you are, what would happen if you simply said yes? Let this be the moment you stop waiting. Let this be the turning point where your spiritual insights become embodied decisions. Comment below and affirm it for yourself. I choose to step into my new destiny. Let it anchor your intention not just in thought, but in action. Your words are powerful spells, and every time you declare truth aloud, the universe listens and responds. If this message spoke to your heart, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe to Eternal Mindfulness. Your support helps this channel reach more souls who are silently searching for guidance, for healing, for reminders of who they really are. And you, Leo, are a beacon. Whether you feel it yet or not, your light has the power to guide others by simply being true to yourself. Thank you, truly, for allowing me to walk with you through this journey today. I know how busy life can get, how heavy some days feel, and how easy it is to forget the power you carry. But you remembered. You showed up. You listened. That alone tells me everything I need to know about where you're headed. So tonight, as you move through the rest of your evening, I hope you do it with softness and pride. I hope you remember that the only approval you ever needed was your own. And most of all, I hope you know that you don't have to rush, you don't have to force, you don't have to push. You just have to allow. Your new timeline isn't waiting for a better version of you. It's waiting for the real one. And that version is already here.